Okay. So motion from Jenny and second from Janie. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
All right, minutes are approved. That takes us over then to the goals document. So at the top of this, the goals document that I had sent out to everybody, I included a bit of information as far as the definition of the community engagement committee as it's included in the trustee bylaws. I think this is definitely a definition that needs to be updated. Responsibilities include acting as community liaison to community and library organizations, including the Reaching Across Illinois Library System. This committee shall also undertake any measures necessary to communicate with the public regarding the library's status, activities, and needs. And you know, I don't know that most of that is, as far as a description, is that relevant anymore. So I think one potential goal for the community engagement committee is to you know, think in terms of what the options might be as far as, you know, what aspects of the definition are still relevant and what opportunities might be available for the committee to be involved. You know, I don't know that we've needed a board liaison to the, I mean, getting into the Wayback Machine, I think 10 plus years ago, there used to be a position where there was a trustee that represented the library at as needed at member meetings of the regional library system, which at the time was NSLS rather than Rails. But because everything has been digital for a while, because the library system got so large, that's all of Northern Illinois now, as opposed to just the North Shore. So in person isn't even a practical consideration as far as meetings. It hasn't been a need. They're just not set up that way anymore. They have an elected board that does pretty much everything that's needed from amongst the member libraries. Looking at the goals for 2019, the last year that goals were set, and this was for fiscal year 2019-2020, because things were so confused in May and June of 2020 that the setting of goals was deferred at that time. At the time, I think we figured that we would hopefully be able to circle around back to that when things were settling back into normalcy later in the fall. And we were, past Eric was so naive, and leave it at that. We never did get back to, I think, the point where we were you know, in a position to be looking at setting goals until the year was mostly over. So the goals that we had set for 2019, which were the last ones that were set for the committee, in collaboration with the finance committee, oversee pursuit and acquisition of at least 3 sponsorships from local businesses and or organizations for library programs, projects, and services. Determine needs for and how to create and manage a volunteer program at the library, and collect and manage a list of local connections for future networking. Okay. Starting at the top, as far as updating on the progress with these, we have done pretty good, I feel, as far as the seeking the sponsorships. We've reached out to a number of businesses. Jillian's going to remember a lot more of these than I am, to be sure. We had the partnership with Pasquazi's sponsoring the seed exchange. We're always working on something with the Friends of the Library, and they've sponsored a great deal of things. We have a great partnership going with the brewery on the trivia night. Oh, and that reminds me, Jillian, is that going to be in person over the summer, or is that still going to be via Zoom?
On June 28th, we're going to do an in-person outdoor Zoom trivia, which is going to be at their tent. Other partnerships that we have is the Lake Forest Library between the ravines. This summer, we're partnering with the Lake Bluff Park District as well as the Gordon Community Center to do 2 outdoor movie nights where we're splitting the cost with those businesses. And then, the story walk. So we're doing a story walk with District 65 and they're paying for half of the materials to do a story walk in Artesian Park. So technically, the park district is also a partner on that, but they're more of in name by letting us use their property.
That's so exciting. I'm excited for all of them.
Yeah, those sound wonderful. What date is the next trivia?
June 28th.
That's
I think our hope is to continue on with in-person trivia after summer. So we're only doing 1 trivia this summer just because we've been all very, very busy. The other things that are kind of other businesses is it's a little bit more of a stretch is that we're doing 2 virtual programs, the Museum of Bad Art and the Long Shadow virtual programs. And those are technically partnerships with other area libraries to help cover the cost of those programs.
These are all great things. When's going to be the sign-up night for trivia, Jillian?
It's always a week before. So it's always opens the Monday prior to that date. So
Okay.
it's on the 28th. So it'll be the 21st
Yeah.
is when registration is.
Okay. Thank you, Jillian. On the volunteer, work was underway on finalizing a volunteer policy and procedure for the library, but that was interrupted by COVID-19, and really, I think it also reached the point where a more in-depth conversation was needed, just because in terms of laying out everything, you know, that we'd hope to have as far as the procedure for bringing in the volunteers, I think it was starting to look like sufficient work that a conversation was needed as far as, you know, how much we were going to invest in pulling that together. So I think that would be, you know, a worthwhile conversation to still have. You know, over the last year, of course, there's not been a lot of great opportunity for volunteering in person at the library. We've worked in tandem with a lot of organizations virtually. I know Jillian had us partner with a lot of different organizations and individuals and businesses in the community over 2020 to provide different content and also just to kind of get themselves out there and talk about what they were still doing and let people know that they still existed.
It was 23 community videos that we shared on Facebook specifically. And then we've gotten a lot of feedback from other area libraries that have been interested in how we did that. So I've had a number of conversations with other librarians about those videos.
Good. Always nice when people want to creatively borrow our stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then the final goal was to collect and manage a list of local connections for future networking. I think that has been an item that, you know, Jillian, when she, after these goals were drafted, not long after these goals were drafted, became a full-time staff member, rapidly exceeded in terms of networking within the community organizations and businesses. So I know generally if I need to get in touch with somebody and I don't already have a contact, Jillian, you invariably do.
Yeah, I keep an Excel spreadsheet of all my contacts. It needs to be updated since 2021 because of COVID and everything, but for the most part, it's relatively up to date.
Yeah. So that one I think we can definitely consider to be a success. We're a lot more networked than we were at this time in 2019. That is for certain. Okay. So I had asked Jillian what her thoughts were as far as goals for going forward. Let me.
I've also come up with a couple extra, Eric, since I sent you
Yeah.
that information.
Oh, good. Let's see. Jillian, you'd suggested assessing the feasibility cost of expanding partnerships with outside organizations to offer author visits and other special programs, and developing outreach events at local schools, and building a greater connection through teachable events.
Yeah.
And what did you?
Well, so with COVID, obviously that threw a wrench. Those items are from the LRP goals and actions, but some of the things that we're working on, like the story walk, where we're partnering with District 65, is a step in that direction with working with the schools. Now, I know Eliza does a lot with the schools, and she did a career video for the middle school back in, like, I don't know, March, that we shared with them that they could then show to their classes as, you know, what it's like to be a librarian, or how you become a librarian, or what it's like to work in a library, that kind of thing, which is really cute. But I think that these two examples are very different from what we've done in the past, and could be fun to just continue to expand how we interact with the schools and sort of change a little bit of our plan. You know, the IGA cards are such a huge, wonderful part of what we do with them and making library cards available for kids. But I think that there's probably more opportunity there to keep establishing different opportunities with the schools. Another thing that I had thought about today was plan more community-wide events in conjunction with already planned community events. So Anna had talked about maybe doing like a book drive with Bernie's Book Bank, but also maybe if we wanted to partner with the brewery or something, and partner within block parties, that kind of thing, you know, stuff that's already going, where we could naturally fit in, that doesn't feel too disconnected, as a possibility.
I love those ideas. Jillian, can I ask you something?
Mm-hmm.
At the last meeting, the library cards were mentioned through the school. I think this is something Eric had talked about. And I feel like Eliza had mentioned a little bit about how there are a lot of cards that are printed, but they are not picked up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, what do you think is the why do you think there's so many cards that don't end up getting picked up in the end?
Let me think. I'm not sure I have a politically correct answer for this.
Well, I can jump in on that one too. I know that we've gotten the percentage a lot lower than it was the first year or two. So we'd kind of originally just, you know, had them behind the desk at the library for people to come and pick up. But what we did, I think that worked a lot better, was then Martha and Eliza worked with the schools so that the cards then went over there and got distributed along with the paperwork. So then the paperwork got collected and the cards got distributed through the school, and that worked a lot better. And I want to say most of the grades now, it's well over 90% as far as the cards being distributed. So we had some challenges with the middle school to start, and there was particularly in some of the upper grades, a lot much lower level of participation initially. You know, and partly also what's helping us now is just that the program's been up and running for a while. So once a family gets a card, if they continue to be Knollwood residents, and the card just gets renewed for another program year. So it's somebody that we don't need to catch up with again. But yeah, there are people that just never come in and get them. At a certain point, the cards all come back to you know, the whole box with any cards that the school wasn't able to distribute come back to the library. I don't really know. Jillian, if you've got any thoughts, you know, by all means.
No.
I don't really know.
Well,
I
90%
realize it
sounds,
sent to-
yeah, sorry, and 90% sounds like a lot. At the meeting, it sounded like there were a lot of cards that didn't end up going home, but that's great that you guys are bringing them to the school so that they can take them home
Yeah.
from there. I didn't realize the number. That's a lot of people that are getting them and taking them home.
Well, it's more than one or two, which I think from our perspective at the library is what we would consider to be too many. But you know, we did include Spanish language versions of the paperwork to go with it as well. So I think that helped a bit. So kind of trying to avoid bumping into that barrier as far as language. It's been a great program. It really has.
That's so exciting. Yeah.
So,
And I can't take any credit for that. That's really Martha, Katie, and Eliza.
yeah, the okay. Jenny, did you have any other questions about that or anything else?
No, I just had some opinions about the goals, looking at the goals from 2019 and trying to figure out what to do for 2021. Seems to me goal 1 is still germane to what we want to do. Goal 2 is still iffy until things open up completely, which may be a while yet, but you said that we need to actually do a lot more discussion on that. And I'm just curious as to what you think needs to be discussed with creating and managing a volunteer program.
Well, looking at a full-out volunteer program, what we've traditionally had is if somebody comes in and they're you know, pretty solid self-starter, we have a couple projects that are very volunteer friendly. Looking for items that have been misshelved, trying to sleuth out where those have gone, where they've been misplaced around the building, as well as shelving is another area that's very volunteer friendly. You know, beyond that, then we start getting into challenges of needing a certain amount of training and a greater deal of paperwork, and in part because libraries do deal with information that we're required to keep private by law.
Mhm.
And you know, for our staff, you know, as part of the hiring process, everybody, you know, goes through the acknowledgement of that, and then they receive training. And you know, then as employees, they're on the books, so to speak. But with potentially having volunteers, you know, working with materials in a way that they might come into contact with private patron information as far as what people are checking out, you know, we would want to put something in place where you know, they receive training as well as that there was a you know, some sort of a written acknowledgement in place that they understood that they were dealing with private and confidential information. So the example, the time-honored example that we always trot out for this, in terms of patron privacy, is if a member of the community were to come in and check out, like a legal handbook about how to file for divorce. Probably not something that they would be checking out, hoping that it would, come to the attention of staff or be discussed by volunteers. So the sort of thing that we try and keep people's privacy for. So that gets to be a challenge, and then as well, when talking about more involved work in the training and the additional procedure and paperwork, then there's somebody that needs to administer all of that and coordinate all that with the volunteers. And, that gets to be time consuming. And at a certain point, it's, how much time are we willing to put in and who would be coordinating it? We don't have somebody on staff that would fit neatly in as a volunteer coordinator. Jillian is probably the person that's closest to that, but it's still a bit of a reach, and it's definitely not something that she has time allotted for presently. So Janie.
Well, I just was thinking, is this under our purview to create that and to have a meeting and discuss how we would do that, or would that be something that the library employees would have the purview of discussing? I'm just not sure where that fits in. How to create is one thing, how to manage is something else. And, I would think that the staff would, and given the privacy issues,
right,
you guys would all have to weigh in because you'd be much more knowledgeable about it than we are. I mean, I grew up in a small town where they used to post, birth notices, death notices, admissions to the hospital and stuff like that on downtown windows. It's just the whole privacy thing has just, I never would have thought about something like that, somebody not wanting to know, somebody else to know what they've checked out because it might be something provocative or something, I was trying to think, what do we have? It's not like we're dishing out porn, I don't know. But I can understand what you're saying.
Well, and like sensitive titles, I don't even say out loud. I had a call today where it was a sensitive topic. I just don't even say the title of the book out loud just for privacy reasons.
Okay, that's just hard for me to wrap my head around, but I understand.
Yeah. The LGBT information books, particularly those for younger persons, circulate more than you would probably expect as well.
Well, God love the library for having that information available.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Can I ask? I still have more. Can I ask one more question? Sorry to interrupt. So Jillian, you mentioned like the book drive for the book bank and like partnerships with schools. So how can we help you? Like what could we do to help support you? It sounds like you have some great ideas. So like what are there things that we could do to help?
I think that they were really kind of ideas that I came up with today while talking to my coworker Anna. She is in charge of adult programming, and so I had asked for her help. And so I think that I need a little bit of time to be able to sort of wrap my mind around it. In the past, we did a trivia fundraiser with the Library Foundation, and that kind of helped because we did it at Bernie's. So it was a great way to rent out their space and still kind of help essentially give them some money,
Mhm.
in a really easy way, and that was, I thought that worked out really well.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of opportunities like that. I also don't know at this moment if Bernie's is accepting donations, so there's just a lot of like things I'd
Yeah.
have to look into to do some groundwork before I feel like I could answer that appropriately.
Yeah. Well,
So,
if you need any help looking into anything or any of those things, I'd be happy to like call or do anything. So I know you want to like think things through, but if there are things that we can help with, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Mhm.
and Jenny, I think that really touches on what I think is a great opportunity for this committee as well. That um, reaching out and leading and coordinating at times the board being present more at certain events. I think in terms of some of the events that we have, um, I do think we've got a great opportunity for trustees to be more present at that, more visible out there, interacting with the community. I think that would be a great good thing
Mhm.
to have some trustees out there with staff at some of the events.
Mhm.
And I know some of the bigger events, an extra set of hands would probably be appreciated as well.
I thought of one.
Yes.
I've thought, if you're interested, I didn't know if you were interested in in-person events, but I do need extra hands for the outdoor movie night with the park district. A lot of staff don't seem to be available that evening. It's on June 25th. We're showing Jurassic Park at Blair Park at the park district, and we have to take registration because of COVID. And recently we've gotten some feedback from the community that a block party was filled with hundreds of people. So we're a little concerned there might not, we're not going to necessarily turn people away, but we want to make sure that we can have capacity, and
Yeah.
safely have people spaced apart.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'd love to help. And if you know that you need volunteers, I can help. I can help see if I can find some too. So,
Okay, great. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
all right. So I'm going to put that on my calendar then. And yeah, then just you can send me an email when you know what you need, and I'm happy.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think that's for the community engagement, I think that's really where the big opportunities are for the committee going forward is leading and coordinating those opportunities to be more involved as volunteers and have more of a board presence out there. I think it extends to the digital realm as well. I think if you look at for instance the library's board page on the website, really what we've got up there is just the basic information, the names, who's on the different committees and who the officers are. But if you look at like the village board or the school board, they've also got pictures up of the trustees as well as little bios as far as who they are, the experience, their experience that they bring to the position, and what they're particularly interested in terms of subject matter. That they're looking to work with as members of the board. So, I think that would be a great opportunity as well. I think it would be a fantastic thing if we could get members of the community to regularly show up for the library board meetings to really engage with us. But Janie, you can testify, having been on the board for a few years, that we almost never have anybody that shows up to those, whether in person or virtual. And usually it happens so rarely that when somebody does show up, I think it kind of worries people a little bit. Has been my sense.
I did have an idea for that, Eric, that I sent you about, I think 3 weeks ago. Another library did a like a Zoom interview with their local mayor, and I thought that that would be pretty cool with the new board members. Like a meet and greet of the new board members, and do it individually. I don't know if it would be all three at the same time, but
You did send
something
me that, and I don't know that we
would be
finished
pretty cool.
discussing that. That's right. Yes.
Yeah,
We
that
should-
might be nice.
Yeah. And do you guys do, what about with your like Instagram page or anything like that? Is that a good place to like introduce like both the librarians and some of the board members?
Yeah, we usually do staff as new staff come to the library, and that reminds me we've got a new staffer coming through, so that would be nice to add in there. But we usually, if we have the ability to, we usually try to do pictures of staff on the Instagram, but it's hard, you know, as we're all working and kind of in the grind of things, to find cute things to post. But those posts usually do better overall with their views, you know, and clicks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's always fun to see too, like what people are reading. I love like, you know, when you guys do your staff picks and stuff like that, that's always my favorite. So I'm always looking for new good books. Jeannie knows.
Yeah, and lately we've been doing a lot more Bookstagram posts where it's like an artistic combination of books to photograph them in an artistic way to kind of promote something specifically. So we did a post specifically for Memorial Day with 3 different book titles. And we partnered with the museum where they lent us a number of World War II medals to kind of coordinate with that picture. So, and we were able to tie into them, you know, their Instagram account, that kind of thing.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask
We have
you
we have a lot of people that follow our Instagram, but
Yeah.
go on.
I love Instagram. It's I love the book posts. Those are like my favorite. Can I ask you one other thing, Jillian? Do you guys have like do we have a lot of partnerships too with like the Highwood Library?
We don't, mainly out of sheer like distance.
Yeah. I was I was amazed by the grant that they just got for their building and construction. It was really impressive. What they're going to be doing in the next year, and their plans on the website looks really nice too.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you guys, Eric, if maybe you knew the director or anything like that.
I do. Director there is Carmen Patlin, and she's great.
Yeah.
She really is. So she was she came over to Highwood 2 or 3 years ago from Waukegan Public Library, where she had coordinated the programs there at Waukegan that had earned them the national award. I'm trying to remember the one that Highwood just recently got. So she's done very well for that library in Highwood, which is great to see. Because you know, for a long time, Highwood had kind of been a really troubled library that the directors never stayed very long, and there was a lot of infighting in the board. They had, I think, just an almost complete staff walkout 5 or 6 years ago. So it's really nice to see that stepping up, because the community definitely deserves better than they've gotten from that organization. So
She must have known Katie then, if she came from Waukegan.
yes.
Yep. Katie knows her.
No.
Yeah, that grant that they got is so large. It's so nice.
Yeah. The North Chicago got a very nice grant a few years ago too, from Abbott.
Oh, really?
Abbott and Abbott has a really nice program that they've set up. They have a 501c3 that's a kind of the Abbott outreach vehicle, and then each year they do like a big project where they offer incentives to all of their employees to then go out and actually participate and help in doing the work. So they not only got the grant, but then they had all these people come over from Abbott, and they did most of the work, so that the money was then, in terms of construction and design, was then spent very cost effectively as well, because they had a lot of volunteering that happened.
Yeah.
So the we've got a lot in terms of just the regular management of our facility, in terms of having a stronger budget and in things versus those libraries. But at the same time, the smaller libraries like Highwood and North Chicago have stronger cases that they can make with those grant applications. I don't
Right.
think there's any denying that, which I don't think should stop us from applying. And we've certainly been pushing to get ourselves out there, but it's not quite as.
There isn't quite the need here. There is in those two communities.
It's more of a challenge to make the case on the need,
Yeah.
and I think it's the fundraising probably does feel like a more natural fit as far as finding the money for what we're hoping to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was big news.
Yeah.
Highwood Library. The plans are beautiful.
That's exciting. Okay, I have a lot of questions. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Oh, you're supposed to ask lots of questions.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, but there's in terms of there's always a lot of construction that's happening with libraries, just because over the last 20 years, what libraries do and the range of services and collections that we offer has just changed so much. So if you've got a building that's either older than that or was built with the expectation that libraries were going to be like they were before 2000, even if it was built more recently, then odds are you're facing some space challenges, and we certainly are. And a lot of our challenges come down to besides not having enough space, it's just the way that the space is laid out. We had the space built in these chunks rather than in a big block. And the challenge with having the space broken up the way that it is that when you're facing new challenges, you can't shift collections around, because you run into these barriers. Because the first floor, you really have this one cube at the front of the library that was built, like that was going to be the adult fiction cube, and it was like a box that was built around where they figured that adult fiction was going to be and where it figured it always would be. Well, if all the variables start shifting in terms of the collections, then you've got to find places to put things like the DVDs and the AV, and overall, I think we've done really well with that in doing it in a way that feels natural. But I don't think there's any denying that if we had a newer building that had more flexible space, it would be a lot easier. I know if you go into a library that's been recently renovated now, you're almost guaranteed to find that they've got all their shelving on casters so that they can unlock and actually just push the shelves around into new arrangements. And that's that's a great symbol for where libraries are headed in terms of organization and thinking, that flexibility.
Mhm.
So anyways, I could talk about this all day, but last thing I'll say on construction is that we can always be happy that we're doing better off in terms of facility needs than Lake Forest. They've got so many challenges with the facilities that they have over there right now that my understanding is that they need somewhere in the neighborhood of just $7 to $9 million just to
Wow.
deal with the problems that they have in that space. You know, get the HVAC to work the way that it's supposed to, get the dome fixed, repair the murals that have seen water damage and all that. So
That's crazy.
it is.
Congratulations on your gift too from Cal. That's so exciting.
Hmm.
That is a nice gift. That's really exciting.
It is, and it should hopefully help us get off the ground here, get things moving forward again. We do have, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 to 500,000 that people had said that they would be comfortable making in terms of gifts. You know, we just need to follow up with them and get that
I think that
formalized.
might create a nice kickstart because there'll be something visible too. You know,
Yeah,
they'll walk into
exactly.
the library, they'll see, you know, progress being made on that
Yeah.
space.
And heaven knows we need more small meeting space. You know, right now, just the tutors alone coming in after the schools let out will often completely overrun the library. You know, much less the folks that want to come in for other reasons.
Mhm.
Well, and prior to Cal's donation, we got the Kiwanis donation as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
to get back to, are we supposed to be working, we're supposed to be working on 2021 goals, right?
Yep.
So,
So
should we, yeah, I'm going back to the 2019 goals, which kind of got cut off at the knees. So I'm just thinking that we should just keep with the first one.
It just to give you an idea of my schedule, I've got the 125 birthday party coming up in September. So I don't know what my availability would be to like start to spearhead the volunteer kind of policy and procedure.
well,
So you're talking about the second goal here.
Yeah.
For volunteers.
I think, right. And I think in terms of the volunteering, I think that having the staff, tasking the staff with working out the details as far as policy and procedure on that and making a recommendation, I think is a reasonable next step.
Okay.
And taking that from there.
Yeah, because it also sounded like, Jillian, maybe your special events is where you're going to need more volunteers than inside the library.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. And another possible goal that had come up today was maybe doing like one large scale event per quarter. So, you know, we have a number of smaller events this summer, but I would consider them as a whole probably larger, like the 2 outdoor programs that we're doing. And then we've got the 125 party this fall. And then this coming winter, we've got, I guess the story walk we have as well this summer. But then we're doing another story walk potentially in the winter with the chamber and It's a Wonderful Life, similar to what we did this past winter. So, I mean, that's another goal that could really be accomplished because then we have Read Between the Ravines coming like the next winter, spring time. So, I mean, it's definitely another opportunity to kind of set something like that that's manageable as a possible goal.
Was the village board bios, was that going to be one of our goals? Like doing something with the trustees? Like, I'm sorry, like
you guys.
Introducing more of the trustees to the community? Was that one of the things?
Yeah, I think you could word that something along the lines of identify and implement ways for the Board of Trustees to increase engagement with the community.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like how broad that is, Eric. That's nice.
Yeah. And if
Well, It covers, I think, a bunch of different things that we talked about, the volunteering at some of the events, the board page, and we've got ideas that'll fit into that. And if you make a goal really, really narrow, then historically we've ran into challenges with finding that things veered off into a different way that felt like a more natural solution, and then we circled back around to the goal, and it was like, well, we accomplished the spirit of it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great goal, is to have the trustees, to find ways, like you said, more ways for the trustees to be, I don't know how you guys did. You said it really nicely.
Yeah, you said it nicely. I got the identify and implement ways for the trustees to more actively engage in community activities. Was that what you said?
That sounds close to it, yeah.
Pretty close. I would say actively engage with the community rather than with activities.
With the community.
Yeah. Okay. Because then it can be activities, it can be redoing the board page and sprucing that up on the website, and coming at it from a couple different angles.
Another opportunity that might be good, that's pretty low impact but could be fairly nice, is as of this Friday, we will be having the book bike at the farmers market. Nice. And it's me. There's no everyone's really busy because it's Friday morning. So if a trustee wants to hop on and just come along for the ride, literally and figuratively, it might be nice to have company, but then also it's very visible to the community as well. We don't get a lot of checkouts, but you just never know. Somebody might have a question, and it could be kind of do.
Oh, great. What time are you there? I know it was in the email.
I go to the farmers market at 9 a.m. So I usually leave the library about 8:45, between 8:30 and 8:45.
Okay.
And it's just for an hour. We're there from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. while story time is happening at 9:30.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're just on the green right next to the gazebo.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
So you're not completely alone on the green. You're just alone with the bike.
I'm alone with the bike. Yeah.
Well, I have my kids that morning. They don't leave for school, but we'll try, and we're gonna try to come over so we can see you and keep you company for a little bit.
Great. I'll make sure to grab a second chair.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be able to. I'm sure I'll be able to go to several of them over the summer. This one, my phone's charging. I could look and see what I've got Friday.
Hopping out with the Village Green Story Times is a lot of fun. That's a really fun one.
It is really cute.
I've jumped in on occasion, and once in a great while I've done one of the story times out there, and yeah, those are always great.
Those are so cute. So Jillian, are you running story time and the book bike, or is Miss Regina doing story time?
Yeah, Miss Regina is doing this first one, and I think she trades it off with Miss Mary. So Regina will be here this Friday. Next Friday will be Mary, and then keep swapping. So they do the readings, but I'm there with the book bike and library materials to check out to patrons with our library laptop and hotspot. So we can do library card sign up. There's a number of things that we have the ability to do, like signing people up for SRC. And
it's so exciting that the farmers market's here again. Yay!
Yay!
Yeah.
No kidding.
No, that's very good. Does that take us to 3 then? Or just 2 as far as the goals?
Okay, so does everybody agree that we just keep the first one from 2019 as it is?
I'm sorry,
that one?
I don't have it in front of me. What is the first
It says,
one?
in collaboration with the Finance Committee, oversee pursuit and acquisition of at least 3 sponsorships from local businesses and or organizations for library programs, projects, and services. Oh, I forgot the at least 3 sponsorships.
Does that start in May? Because then I've got 2 down.
You got 2 down already?
Well, because the 125 we're not paying for, so technically the story walk is sponsored in part by the District 65, and then the 125 party we're not paying for. So, I mean, I've got 2 down. That would be great if it starts.
Dang.
Oh dear, Jillian, you overachiever.
Yeah, no kidding.
Happy, just making sure when my timeline starts, though. And is
We
it
have a
very
whole year to get that accomplished, so.
well? I don't need that. Yeah, it'd be fine. I don't need the whole year. But it's for the fiscal year, right? It's not just for
Right.
the year.
It's for the
28.
fiscal year.
Then
So
yeah, I got all 3 because Lake Forest Library. I'm all good.
Congratulations.
Yay.
so
Okay,
And Jillian, can I help you with the board bios and stuff? Could I do a little research and then send you an email?
Yeah, I mean, actually having somebody hunting down that information would be really helpful because
Okay, perfect.
we can get the website updated. And I'm a photographer, so I mean, we could set up times for individual board members to come by the library and take photographs, that kind of thing. But as far as the bios and stuff like that, that would be great to have somebody else track down from the individual board members.
That'd be great, because what I think I would do is I would just do a little research about how the other boards collected it, and then maybe we can get a form together and I could send it to you guys, and then we could coordinate, you know, just like I can collect the information, but I'll send everything to you guys first so you can
Yeah.
take a look at it and we could go from there.
One of this, I don't know if this quite works, but one of the standard interviewing questions for new staff members, what are you reading? So that can be kind of cute to add in
Oh, I
there.
love that. Yes, it's like my favorite thing to learn about people. Yes, okay. Great.
okay, so if we've already accomplished the first goal, that might signify that it's
Not a goal?
Not, yeah.
okay,
That might be one that falls under, you know, now that we have somebody that's a regular community engagement coordinator for the library, that it becomes just more of an expectation.
okay,
You know, having those collaborations rather than in the past where it was really was more of a goal, because we didn't have that person. So, you know, we had to, you know, really find the time to get that outreach going.
okay. So, okay, so have we got any yet?
Well, we have the engagement one.
Right, the engagement. Okay.
Identifying ways to increase
Right.
the board's engagement with the community. So we've got that one. Jillian, what were the ones that you had, the other 2?
Yeah, I guess my first one, I'm not sure about now as a 21 fiscal year because of COVID, but it was plan more community-wide events in conjunction with already planned community events. So I'm not sure how feasible that will be without knowing just how COVID kind of lands out, because I didn't necessarily plan that going into this summer. You know, and so doing in-person indoor programming just hasn't been a discussion yet. So I'm just not sure where we might land as if that's feasible for this year versus I more likely to do something like that next year.
Yeah,
I would agree.
yeah, that could be a challenge, though. You know, just kind of thinking. I mean, the key with goals is that, you know, you want them to be something that you reach for, that you're trying for. And, you know, as long as there's a good try there, then, you know, that can be as important as, you know, full success. You know, because
I mean,
part of setting a good goal is that it's not a guarantee, right?
Yeah.
But it you know, at the same time, it should be, you know, it should be feasible as well. You know, you shouldn't set goals that are to develop the ability to fly, as a ridiculous example, because, you know, just it isn't doable. So yeah, I see what you're saying, Jillian, as far as, you know, whether that's even what the potential is as far as digging into that, and particularly because a lot of the events are really in the summer.
Well, I
But
guess
that might be a good point.
I didn't think about
Because
will do It's a Wonderful Life
yeah,
with businesses. So that is one where we would partner with something that's already happening by doing a story walk in conjunction with that event. But I can't necessarily
Mhm.
think of any other opportunities this winter.
I would think that a goal like that would almost have to be positioned to look forward to 2022. Because pretty much everything for the summer, the summer's the big time for events. Is the planning happens for that 5-6 months in advance, so it's mostly wrapped up at this point.
Yep. Sure is for me. This last story walk was a nice surprise.
It was really great.
Another idea that we had was doing more multi-library programming. And my concerns with that when I was talking to Anna about it, because that was her suggestion, was, there is another author opportunity, and she thinks that libraries will continue to do these virtual programs where we can partner with them for larger scale authors where we can't individually afford it. But if we partner with other libraries, that might be something that's a little bit more attainable. It does take a lot more coordinating if you're the leading library on that project, though. So that's just also something to keep in mind. I know that she is interested in doing a Madeline Miller program next March, but that's the only one that we have on the books other than Read Between the Ravines going forward for this next fiscal year outside of what we're already doing this summer.
That's a neat idea.
I do have aspirations for next summer, but it's definitely up in the air with COVID. I'm happy to share them with you guys, but I don't know how they fit with setting goals. It's just more of this is what I'm hoping for.
Well,
Okay.
I'd love to hear it.
So 2 years now we've put off the summer reading club theme. So as of last year, we had planned on doing gardening as our theme, and then we were going to do it this summer, but we still felt like it was a little too hands-on with when we needed to start planning what that was. So we're hoping now to postpone that till next year. And the idea is that we would make a community garden. So that would be kind of fitting with that LRP goal that I had sent Eric, where it's more of a teachable event where we can teach kids how to grow seeds, have grow lights at the library inside where things can be started from a seed base and then put into this garden on the property. And then we'd be able to tie that in with the summer reading club. Another larger scale project that I just reached out to a community organizer today is that when I went to college in Mount Vernon, Iowa, they do a Chalk the Walk. So it'd be kind of expanding what we already do during the Criterion, what we did do with the Criterion, we're not doing anymore. But it's basically this idea that you close down Main Street and you break it up into a grid system where families can do chalk drawings on the street and kind of have like a certain amount of space dedicated that they can do. But then you would also hire chalk artists to kind of do real more, perspective type drawings that are really fun. But then the community aspect of it is that you kind of make it more of a block party and you have these other entities, live music, drinks, family activities. And also they do a mural in the center of the street where you take an image and you break it into a grid pattern, and then any child could just follow what that grid is, that grid square, so they can just color it in with chalk. And we could do a book cover and that kind of thing. So that's kind of more of a big picture hope of mine for hopefully maybe next summer, but it really just depends on how this fall goes and where things are headed.
It's funny, that last one you mentioned, I used to do stuff like that in some of my math classes. Exercising scale.
Hmm.
Wow.
You big plans,
Those
Eric.
sound amazing. Yeah. I hadn't heard about the walk though. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
The grow lights are new. I knew we were going to do the gardening program. I didn't know we were going to try to do the grow lights too.
Where do you think you might try and put the seeds in the ground on the property?
What we had actually proposed, and we had put together a proposal for the village prior to, well, it's kind of like a hit and miss thing. We had put together a proposal and a grant at the beginning of 2020, to put some raised beds along the ramp at the emergency exit, which used to be the original entrance to the building.
Gotcha.
We hadn't gotten a no or a yes as to that location, because just right at the center of that planning was COVID. So
Yeah.
we just didn't ship on that planning for obvious reasons. But that was the direction we were headed. Also, I feel like there might be some opportunity behind the building. I was looking at it today and it's pretty well sun over there.
Yeah. I do keep feeling like there might be some opportunities here to partner elsewhere in the community where there might be some, opportunities with other community-owned spaces. I don't know how much space is there over on what street is that house on? Walnut, where the village
where they're
owns that
starting the
house
mural,
over behind the police office where they're starting the mural.
behind the post office. Yeah, they're that whole grassy area is also part of the village property. Problem is there's so many big old oak trees on it that it doesn't get much sun.
Yeah.
Well, and something that was brought up in against the mural project was that because the post office driveway is right there, it's not exactly safe for people to be standing there and hanging out. So I'm not even sure how that location got approved other than the fact that it's the 125 committee. But that was definitely a main concern, was public safety and just people congregating in a larger group at that location.
Right,
Because
right.
Yeah.
But what about the site where the East School used to be?
Where's that? It's been a while since I had to remember where East School was.
Well, it was just east of the junior high. And it's just a big empty lot now with no trees or anything on it.
I often think about that and wonder what the possibilities for that space might be.
I'm sure a lot of people
I don't
think about that.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan for that is.
But the thing is, a couple of garden boxes would not be real intrusive and would be easy to take out if they ever decide to do something else in there.
Might be
So
a pain to water, but
that's a good question.
yeah. The reason we had been thinking the library property is because it'd be easier for us personally to manage it. I'm having
That's definitely true. Yeah.
having watering situation with my own garden at my father's house. So, and I was joking today about putting a webcam in front of it, and he's like, "Yeah, that's kind of funny." I'm like, maybe sounds like a good idea actually. So.
Okay, so we should, since we're over an hour here for our meeting, we should probably try and move towards conclusion here. So we've got, I think, just the one goal there. Jillian, I think finding opportunities to engage in more community-wide events and contribute more towards those. If we look towards, think of it in terms of the planning rather than the events that are going to be happening in 2021. I think it's a goal that I think is practicable. Just because looking towards 2022, which is the events that we're starting to plan now, the COVID should be a lot less of a concern. Certainly, it seems to be in terms of factoring it for the planning.
Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to wrap my brain around it. So, where other events are already partaking or happening, right?
Yes, unless I misunderstood what you were proposing.
No, that was what I was proposing. I'm just also just trying to wrap my brain around. So like the story walk with It's a Wonderful Life, but also technically the farmers market does land in that category. So I'm already doing that. Okay, great.
Right. But like, other things like you mentioned, like with the
Yeah.
block parties and the criterium, which, we had been doing the sidewalk chalk, but then that kind of
Doesn't get a lot of
hadn't
interest.
gotten as, the interest in that had kind of waned in the community. So there's an opportunity there to do something else. Who knows, the auto show, maybe something there.
That's definitely being planned,
Yep.
but there's not a lot of time.
Nope. Well, I wouldn't be able to do anything with that right now. We're
Yeah.
so deep in SRC right now in the story walk that's in like 2 weeks, I think. So,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
if it's not in the newsletter, I'm not sure that it actually happens. So
gotcha.
it's like be falling in the woods if no one hears it, did it actually
Yeah.
fall? So
So am I right in saying we've got two goals so far? We've got the engagement goal and the more multi library programming goal.
Yes,
Is that enough? Is two
wait,
enough?
so
it was
which
enough.
there was
It's
also
2 to
the
4 is the number of goals, and you
Okay.
don't want to go more than 4.
there was the board engagement
I got that one.
and then the community-wide events.
Oh,
Okay.
community-wide events. I didn't get that. Okay, I've got the board engagement one. I've got the more multi-library programming one. And what did you say, Jillian?
It was to collaborate with already established events. So like things where another organization has something that's going on in the community that we can easily enough collaborate with them on something that they're doing.
Oh, that's what you're talking about with the
Yeah.
farmer's market and
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the story
okay.
for It's a Wonderful Life.
For a third one, Jenny, we discussed the volunteers, and we could easily just add in something to the effect of review staff input or collaborate with the staff on formulating proposals for a volunteer program. Something to that effect. Basically, get a report and take action on said report regarding volunteers.
Okay. All right, I'll have to pretty up the English for this, but
Yeah, I didn't come up with a lot of good adverbs for that one. Sorry.
well, collaborate with staff on a review of, I just said a review of the potential
Yes.
volunteer program.
Yeah.
I think that's enough
Indeed.
to put in there, and collaborate with already established community events and programs, and to engage in more multi-library programming to facilitate maybe bigger name authors, or I'm not sure how you would want to state that. Wasn't that the purpose of doing more multi-library programs, so you could collaborate with other libraries and provide more funds for larger speaker fees for people who demand more money?
Yeah.
basically? So how can
Yeah.
I put that in a politically correct way? For funding for higher profile authors?
or programming, because I feel like the Your City at Home wasn't based around authors, but got a lot of I don't know if you guys had noticed, but there was a huge spike in viewership over the last 3 months, essentially, or 2 months, in our spring programming because of Your City at Home. So those are not author-based programs, but they are community-wide events with other
Okay.
libraries.
Like history programs and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I know you brought in some really
Yeah,
good
because
ones.
I think what was really great about that one was that, you know, the museum pass is wonderful in theory, but the museum entities, isn't a lot of larger scale institutions that are attached to that. So I think people felt like, oh, I can't make it to the Art Institute, but this would be fun to do a program that's put on by the Art Institute, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. That
Yeah,
worked out.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, great. Great. So we've got 4. That's excellent.
All right.
Okay. So I guess, is there anything else we need to talk about?
If you'd send me a copy of that information, and then also Eric, if you wouldn't mind sending me 2019, I couldn't
Will do.
find that, so that would be great.
Okay. Is it okay if I just send you the notes when I get them done?
Yeah.
All right. So if there's nothing else, then I will move to adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I.
All right, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
Woo, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.